You play the Bears, and I've heard it myself from different people, is that they better get ready.
From his personality to the impact of his tackles, everything Dick Butkus did was memorable. Although he played on only 2 winning teams, he did not lower his standards to fit the company. He was Moby Dick in a goldfish bowl. His 9-year career stands apart as the single most sustained work of devastation ever committed on a football field by anyone, anywhere, anytime. To talk about him is to drain the vocabulary of superlatives.
As soon as you had that football, you were the enemy.
Butkus was the most destructive defender in the game. And the NFL is filled with horror stories of tough men who crossed him.
Most in football staring you right in the face. What he said to me, I can't repeat. The censors would have a ball, and immediately my voice kind of quivered and started cracking.
He was the greatest intimidator that ever played football. I don't know how good a football player was. He scared the hell out of people.
He told me he was going to kick mine. You know what? The first time I ever played against him, my rookie year.
Dick was an animal. I called him a maniac, a stone maniac.
He's the kind of linebacker that when he hit our back would go back in the huddle. He'd be talking out his ear hole. He'd want to know who was supposed to block that crazy sucker.
Before you could begin to try to block on Dick, you had to overcome the mystique. And he didn't appreciate this, but I said it was almost like an odor. He exuded a kind of a presence.
He tried to hurt you. You know, he was just so competitive. You know, not only did he not want you to gain a yard, he didn't want you to gain an inch. You know, as soon as you had that football, you were the enemy.
Dick Butkus played football with a religious fervor, with an unrelenting obsession not only to excel, but to dominate and demoralize.
Dick was not satisfied with just an ordinary tackle. He had to hit you, pick you up, drive you, and grind you into the ground.
For Dick Butkus, football was never a game, but a street fight. A place for all-out, no-holds-barred warfare.
He was an animal, and he was a well-conditioned animal, and every time he hit you, he tried to put you in the cemetery, not the hospital.
Butkus was the most destructive defender in the game. And the NFL is filled with horror stories of tough men who crossed him.
He knocked out L.C. Greenwood on a punt. I remember, and he knocked out Warren Banks, and he was a backup fullback. We had a good special teams player. And I remember Warren sitting on the sideline crying. He says, "I don't know who I am." Because Butkus had blindsided and just KO'd him.
For Dick to run a 100-yard dash, it'd take him 3 days. But I want to tell you something, from that middle linebacker, 20 yards this way, 20 yards that way, 20 yards that way. I mean, nobody was quicker than he was. He made a lot of interceptions. If he was told in past defenses to be in a certain area, I mean, he was there. He had great hands. The man was unbelievable. His whole damn life was football. Forget about it. Wasn't driving a pretty car. It wasn't going to the local bar and pounding your chest, "I'm the greatest." It was the opposite.
You know, I'm really not the tough, macho guy that was only during the game, and no matter how hard you try to explain that, sure you were, you know. So
he's basically a pain in the ass. You know, again, I know him, and he's got a personality like a fried lobster.
It was horrifying playing against him because he can intimidate literally an entire offensive team, and I mean good teams.
As did Chicago's Dick Butkus.
Here we go, Andy. All right, shift 44 to a 56 stack pop.
Butkus was that rarity in professional sports, an athlete who attained legendary status during his career.
Butkus would follow a man up in the stands and hit him. He would follow him up in the tunnel in the Coliseum. I've seen him do it. You run out of bounds, he's going to run right out with you.
He honestly believed in the theory that, hey, if I can hit you hard enough, not only your hat will come off, but your head will come off. And he damn near tried to do that every time he hit somebody.
I don't go to the movies too often, but one particular movie that stands out in mind was with Betty Davis. I think it was Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. I got kind of a charge when that head come rolling down the stairs.